Can we mix residential and industrial zones in city skylines too and keep our citizens happy? Today, we will attempt something we have never done before. Create a downtown neighborhood transitioning from an industrial area to a trendy destination for hipsters, art galleries, and tech startups. This occurs in cities when warehouse and factory districts are repurposed. To create a neighborhood in transition, we will combine residential, industrial, commercial, and office zones. Additionally, we will use new assets from the Leisure Venues Content Creator Pack. However, to do this, we must fix a major problem we left hanging. Our rail line needs significant adjustments, and our highway interchange requires a total transformation. My name is College Builder, your friendly college dean, and this is episode 17 of my Southern California-inspired series, Marathon Cove. Since we last loaded Marathon Cove, Colossal Order has released a major anniversary patch for City Skylines 2, along with several beautiful content creator packs. Let's kick things off by looking specifically at the University Village area. We want to see what impact, if any, the new patch has on our game save. The patch notes say that police and crime have been overhauled to have a bigger impact on the city. Homelessness has been adjusted once again and can now be tracked in the information overviews and our data charts. Before we unpause the game, our population stands at nearly 13,000 and seems to be growing. However, as soon as we start, our population starts to drop, and fast. It looks like people are rushing to leave our city. Oh my goodness, I wonder if we will even have a city. The city statistics show us how quickly the number of citizens is falling and across all age categories. Sure enough, it seems that our highway ramps are congested as households move out. The crime rate has suddenly shot up, but after running this a bit, it also seems that people are moving back in. I'm not sure what to make of this, but perhaps we shouldn't worry about it. We can now see the homelessness data, which doesn't seem too bad. According to the data, we have about 28 homeless people living in our city. I like that highlighted parks now show us where homeless citizens are hanging out. The strange dip and return of unemployment is more concerning and something we may need to address. The population is now stabilizing, which is part of the natural balancing after a big patch. We have survived the biggest impact, but will continue monitoring for additional changes. We will now add our first assets from the new Leisure Venues Content Creator Pack. 2 Ryan N says we should add a park by the university in the 2 empty blocks. That is a great idea and the perfect opportunity to test some leisure venues. Let's start by adding Gusto Gelato, which has citywide impacts, including bonuses for summer recreation and area well-being. Rooney did an incredible job with the entire pack, and I love this asset. The next is the Mermaid's Tea Lounge, which also boosts city attractiveness. These 2 commercial properties are great anchors for our park and will be located between our shopping center and the University Village neighborhood. By the way, if you enjoy this video and find it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me out and lets me know to create more content like this. We will place walking paths on both sides of the park for greater connectivity. Let's add small pocket parks to make the area more attractive and encourage people to visit. I enjoy designing custom parks by merging various park assets and then unifying them through surfaces, paths, and trees. The Better Bulldozer tool can remove the default surface under each park. We'll then use my favorite new mod on Paradox Mods. It's the Terrain Surfaces Pack from Gaga XM. These surfaces allow us to incorporate subtle, natural grass textures, which help unify our park. Perhaps the grass in this area is a bit more worn from people gathering. For the park kiosk and tables, let's opt for a French-inspired brick surface. We can now plant small bushes and flowers throughout the park, and finally add some palm trees. Although we placed 5 different parks in this one block, it feels like a single space. After some shopping, visitors can grab a gelato and then stroll through the paths. We will include additional details such as a fountain in the center, as well as benches and trash cans at various locations. This park isn't the best maintained, but it seems ideal for a location along a busy main avenue. Let's repeat the process in the next block beside the tea lounge. We will incorporate additional textures from the surface pack, including the small yellow flowers that overlay the grass. I believe these parks and leisure venues are a fantastic addition to what was otherwise an empty space in University Village. We have also survived the patch update, as our population has rebounded, crossing the 13,000 mark. Homelessness has continued to rise, hitting nearly 180 citizens. We will revisit this issue later in the episode. At the moment, we have new projects to tackle. As we move to the other side of Marathon Cove, we arrive at our wine region in the small town of Verano. The massive highway interchange by Verano has never satisfied me. Kimmy H. rightfully said, "Holy Spaghetti Junction." Today, we will correct this mess and completely change this area. Let's start by deleting the entire interchange. We should begin with a clean slate. Let's move the highway further back in all directions to provide room for a total redesign of the interchange. Our first goal is to open the space behind the Verano train station. Today, we will plan an old industrial area in this space. To do that, we need lots of room. A second goal is to relocate the rail tracks so they do not run directly next to our high school. Moving the highway will help us achieve that goal. The primary limiting factor is our wetlands, the beautiful ecosystem situated just west of Verano. To achieve all our goals, we will build a new elevated highway right at the edge of the wetlands. This is controversial, but we can assume the original highway was built decades ago, before environmental conservation became a priority. If you have feelings about this either way, let me know in the comments what you think. We will level some land at our foothills for the second highway. This move is important to make space by the train station for the old industrial area. Since we are moving a lot of land, we must return later to smooth the hills so the new highway blends into the environmental context. Some of you have suggested that a cloverleaf might be better here, but I would prefer to build a parklow or partial cloverleaf in anticipation of future traffic. A standard cloverleaf poses safety concerns when vehicles merge onto the highway at the end of one loop just before other vehicles exit to navigate another loop. This conflict is called weaving. A parklow eliminates that weaving. The parklow usually results in 2 traffic lights when a highway intersects an arterial. In this case, we are constructing a stacked parklow where 2 highways intersect. These ramps are designed to stack or cross over each other in a multi-level configuration. By doing this, we minimize space and improve traffic flow. The intersection we just removed was also stacked, but it had no loops and was far too spread out, resulting in a poor use of land. Our partial cloverleaf will be much leaner, hopefully. Parklows are actually common in California, so this new interchange is appropriate for our build. In fact, I spent some time on Google Earth and found a beautiful one in the San Diego area that I used as my guide. I made some mistakes while building the interchange. You may have noticed that I needed to delete and redraw some segments, but I am quite happy with the final result. The main question is what will happen when we put the intersection to the test. We have not yet developed our downtown and port area. One highway leads directly into our future downtown. We also need to develop the suburbs and islands on the other side of the map. The second highway leads directly to this other part. Let's now detail the spaces in and around the interchange. The simplest approach is to add layers of dirt and grass. To achieve this, we can use Sully's riverbed textures, beginning with the most dirt in the middle and then working our way outward. We'll augment these textures with the terrain surfaces pack from Gaga XM. I like adding dirt in the center of the loops and gaps. Maintaining the grass here will not be easy, and no one will be watering the foliage. Since this area is semi-arid, dirt and sparse grass seem very appropriate. Our next step is to plant tons of our wild shrubs and bushes. We'll aim to avoid the highway median as it is more accessible and likely to receive maintenance from the California Department of Transportation. I just love how this turned out. But what do you think of the stacked partial cloverleaf? It is a significant improvement over the spaghetti that was here before. I do welcome your feedback. We could make some improvements in a few places, but hopefully this will be the last time we need to replace it. However, we need to be prepared for ramp upgrades if the traffic grows too much in the future. Speaking of the future, with today's build, we will be nearly finished with Verano and the San Carlos Hills. We need to begin thinking actively about downtown and its surrounding region. I value your ideas, so if you have suggestions about what should come next or how you envision the region's development, please share them. It seems we already have some light traffic on our new interchange. I enjoy watching the cars navigate the curving exit ramps. Let's now smooth the terrain to create the impression that the highway was seamlessly integrated into the low-lying hills. In this case, the highway flows easily in the gaps between hills and appears to have contextual awareness. We have also created the space we need between the interchange and downtown Verano for today's special expansion. With our new interchange complete, it's time to accomplish our second goal, relocating the railroad farther from our high school. We'll start by deleting the tracks behind the school and then moving the high-voltage power lines to the other side of the highway. These power lines need to be moved to make room for the new tracks and the expansion of Verano. Next, we will add elevation on both sides of the river to raise the rail tracks over the creek. Let's place a temporary bridge to show how this will look. Instead of constructing one long bridge, we will elevate the land, maintaining a grade below 2%. Finally, we will soften the terrain along the incline and the football field. The next part is tricky. We will add a third set of rail tracks behind the Verano station. These tracks will enable trains passing through the region to bypass the station and avoid delays. We are redoing all the tracks here to create at-grade crossings, which will go to the new part of town behind the station. Crossing 3 rail tracks at grade level is not easy. Redoing one set of tracks initiates a chain reaction that requires redoing another if we want to keep the inclines within our 2% limit. Here, we are replacing the passenger tracks leading to the airport and raising the dirt so that the entire length does not have to be a bridge. We still have more work to do at the Verano station. Let's try parallel mode to ensure a smooth transition towards our energy corridor for both the passenger and industrial tracks. Once the station tracks are sorted, we will head back to the area behind the high school to create a gentle sloping hill. We'll delete our temporary bridge, level the 2 sides, and regrade the slope to ensure a 2% incline or less. Finally, we are ready to replace the rail tracks and build our new bridge. This new position is not entirely removed from the school, but it is significantly further back, and I believe it enhances safety. Now, let's smooth out the edges of our incline so that everything blends naturally. We've completed a major infrastructure project and, in doing so, opened up new land in Verano. Since residential demand is strong, let's add some single-family houses. We'll create some short roads that terminate in cul-de-sacs. Let's take a stab at creating a custom bike path to connect the high school to this residential area. We don't have bike lanes in the game, but we do have invisible paths and green net lanes. I can envision a future when bikes are integrated into city skylines too, with bike paths linking many areas of the region. This path is a reminder for us to leave spaces where we can go back and add them in. Since these small residential cul-de-sacs are situated near the train tracks, we can assume that they are not high-value homes. Let's place more low-density houses from the USA Southwest Region Pack, primarily levels 1 and 2. Their brown roofs contrast with many of the other residential properties we have placed in the Verano Hills. As much of this town caters to wealthier citizens, it's beneficial for us to add some economic diversity. We should now establish a buffer using trees and wild shrubs. Hopefully, our high school and houses have some safe distance. It's now time for my favorite part of this episode, creating the newest part of Verano, proverbially on the other side of the tracks. It never made sense why the rail station abutted against the highway with nothing behind it. With this change, the town now has a story to tell. We find the higher value neighborhoods in Town Square on one side of the station. On the other, we have a former industrial area. The train station splits the town, but the grid remains the same. Like many industrial regions throughout the U.S., manufacturing has declined in Verano. Demand for information and hospitality services has risen, and tech startups are looking to repurpose former industrial sites. At one point, these neglected buildings provided Verano leaders with a chance for a city renaissance. The center of this town is a new market square and a high-tech incubator, both utilizing abandoned structures that the city acquired. As tax revenue from the ventures increased, the city invested in new parks and landscaping to enhance the area's appeal. The gamble paid off, and soon private companies moved in, converting other abandoned warehouses into retail and residential spaces. We are using this Level 1 office from the USA Northeast Region PAC as our high-tech incubator. In our backstory, it is a former furniture manufacturing plant that used wood from the nearby hills and shipped products throughout the state. You can still see the old loading docks at the back of the building. Adjacent to the incubator is the city's newest market square, flanked by a Level 5 commercial asset from the USA Northeast PAC. This asset is gorgeous and also resembles a repurposed industrial building. Let's create a wide pedestrian road in front of it, which we will rename Market Street. Converting the street with a brick and stone surface gives it a unique flair that echoes its rich history. We can assume that an old industrial building was demolished between the public market and our tech incubator. Now known as Market Square, this empty lot houses the city's farmers market, open on Thursdays and Saturdays. Using the Recolor mod, we will apply the same color to each of these pergolas. Additionally, let's add some invisible pedestrian paths that will meander through the market stalls. To the immediate right of the public market building, another warehouse was torn down. This lot now hosts numerous food trucks and stalls, attracting office workers during their lunch hour. We can line the space using some commercial props, and then fill the middle with park tables and umbrellas. This type of industrial redevelopment is not uncommon in many parts of the U.S. and even worldwide. In Oklahoma City, the former industrial area called Bricktown now functions as a hip dining destination. Chicago transformed its meatpacking district, known as Fulton Market, into a stylish neighborhood filled with international hotels and Google's Midwest headquarters. The Austin Warehouse District has evolved from factories and breweries into a vibrant nightlife scene. Introducing a farmer's market in this area is ideal and mirrors the typical development in gentrified warehouse neighborhoods. This market we are creating reminds me somewhat of the Pearl in San Antonio, particularly the space between the food hall and the old cannery building, which hosts a fantastic Saturday market. I think our market square will help revitalize the surrounding unused buildings and bring in new residents. Establishing our market square marked the initial step for the other side of the tracks. Now, let's fill in the remaining blocks. We will showcase some mixed-use assets that might have been repurposed from previous industrial uses. We can place the Forum of the Arts next to the square, a former market transformed into a new use. Let's examine the wind direction as we want to preserve some active industrial buildings. Unfortunately, the wind is blowing right towards the train station and therefore towards our residential neighborhood. Mixing industrial and residential is not going to be easy. Most of what we have placed so far has been smaller mixed-use buildings that have a repurposed look. I love that these balconies look like they were added when the building underwent a conversion. Here, the city filled in an empty lot with a dog park. Like many industrial areas, ours needs a brewery, which also provides an entertainment boost. We should also place some unique signature buildings, perhaps a restaurant and a cocktail lounge from the Leisure Venues asset pack. Densely packed neighborhoods like this one should offer many places for residents to walk during the day and the night. Let's not forget about our social services. We can place the Eastern European Welfare Office, which was probably built in this district before undergoing gentrification. Several 90s office buildings seem appropriate next to it. In general, I like placing low-density offices around my industrial zones. These buildings blend well together, and some may serve as offices for a manufacturing plant. I believe it's time for more functional industrial buildings and new contemporary offices built onto vacant lots. As old warehouse districts undergo transformation, not every building will be a repurposed structure from the past. Many will be entirely new and present a modern aesthetic that sharply contrasts with the industrial style. Let's do a little bit of detailing, softening the edges around our rail tracks and adjusting surfaces around our factories. The trick is to mix things up. Some buildings may be located next to parks or well-paved areas. Others may still exhibit signs of wear and tear from the past industrial age and may feel somewhat neglected. That is the beauty of mixing zones into a single neighborhood. One block will be entirely gentrified, while the next may still feature a meatpacking factory. Somehow, all these different uses can coexist. However, as property values increase, it becomes increasingly difficult for industrial properties to persist. Our info overlay shows that we have integrated all 4 zones, demonstrating that it is not always necessary to separate them. Let's create a new district, which we will appropriately name the Verano Market District. Next, let's focus on how both sides of the tracks fit together around the train station. We can overlay the rail tracks using a concrete railway cover, even over the street crossings. The train station looks historic and beautiful, but the concrete reminds us that these tracks have dual purposes, passengers and freight. The remaining empty areas around the station should be cleaned up. We will add invisible paths and install a brick surface to create pedestrian plazas. Low hedges will help keep citizens from wandering onto the tracks. These brick plazas may have been installed recently when the town began to rehabilitate the market district and attract more tourists to the area. We will complete the plaza by adding planters and trees, outlining them with hedges, and include some seating. They offer a nice spot to rest if you are waiting for a train and have time to spare. Verano has truly made an effort to enhance the station area. Between the highway and the market, there are a few empty lots that are ideal for additional industrial buildings. We will surround them with offices, commercial outlets, and pocket parks. This is such an incredible area. I think it is one of my favorite builds. I love mixing all 4 zone types, which is quite common in cities. The only other building we should add is the muscle car garage. It feels gritty and industrial, making it a perfect addition to the market district. We have added numerous commercial, industrial, and office jobs to this neighborhood. Now is the time to expand the residential population. Developers will construct residential infill as this industrial neighborhood transforms. I love this level 1 low-rent apartment building from the French Region PAC. It was probably built to accommodate workers before gentrification began. Surprisingly, our homelessness rate has climbed to nearly 500 individuals, so we need more housing. Some of these row homes are likely historic houses, originally built for low-wage warehouse workers, but they have since been transformed by the influx of young executives working at the tech incubator. This pattern can be found in Chicago's historic worker cottages, which now easily sell for over $1 million each. Let's also place some modern residential buildings. Developers added these structures to vacant lots as demand surged. Our homelessness rate has not budged, which surprises me since many of the homeless I checked were educated, employed, and wealthy. You might expect them to move into these new apartments quickly. Let's ensure we're meeting educational needs. Our data shows that elementary schools pose a problem, and Verano Elementary School is at capacity. Adding an extension will accommodate an additional 500 students. On the far side of the market district, we can begin constructing single-family homes, primarily utilizing the USA's Southwest PAC. Again, still no movement in the number of homeless. Let's proceed with this mini suburb up the hill. We want to ensure that we are meeting all types of residential demand. Throughout Verano's history, the small development has never been particularly affluent. The residents wanted to live near their jobs, but couldn't afford to reside up in the luxurious hills. Wealthy citizens did not want to drive across the tracks to reach their homes, so middle and low-income residents settled here. We are placing Southwest houses mostly in the 1, 2, and 3 level range. Several UK detached houses also blend well. Property values have always been low here, especially with the interstate nearby. However, the values have recently increased with the market district becoming trendy and a limited housing supply. Although we are on a small hill, this serves as another example of how to build a residential neighborhood on uneven terrain. It's all about contextual design. When building, you must pay attention to environmental factors and ensure that the city fits the context. Our city's history tells a story that you can see written in the development from past to present. Modern condos are built in a style that references that history and blends into the neighborhood's design. New parks reflect the city's changing values as industrial blocks undergo gentrification and attract residents from a different income bracket. The reality is that neighborhoods are not static, they are constantly in flux. Your builds in City Skylines 2 can capture a moment in history, or you can allow them to evolve as you play the game. Let's add a transformer station. We don't need it, however, it seems like something you might find in a former industrial area. A bit more landscaping will cover some remaining grassy areas. These might be a recent addition the city made to enhance the area. But it's not all perfectly manicured. Wild bushes still grow, reflecting the biome. Dirt patches reflect the past history. The gritty can clash with the pristine. It's just what you find in a transitioning neighborhood. And the number of homeless people has still not fallen. Something appears to be amiss. Either the new patch hasn't resolved the homelessness problem, or we have misunderstood the issue. Let's detail the area around our high voltage power lines. They should not have any trees underneath or close to them. The power company would keep them cleared away. This area looks like a dirt ditch, so let's use Sully's riverbed textures to create the appropriate look. We will layer them, moving toward more grass as we get farther away from the lines. We often overlook the area around high voltage lines, yet this is a detail we should not ignore. Let's fill the ditch with boulders and rocks, and then we will fill the gaps with wild bushes and shrubs. Just like our industrial area, a ditch can have beauty in City Skylines too. Let's take a moment to revisit the pedestrian bridge we built this episode. The pillars are positioned too close to the rail tracks, and I dislike the ramps. We can spread the bridge out using the movement mod, and then redo the ramps so they conform to the terrain. Building a bridge this way is much cheaper and also looks great. Once we finish the second ramp, we only need to make sure that both sides of the bridge are level and sufficiently high above the tracks. I love the view of the town from this vantage point. Let's complete these trails to enhance connectivity to our Trendy market district. Since this is intended to be pedestrian-friendly, we want to encourage citizens to walk. Today's build has transformed the town of Verano. Our new market district will be a tourist destination for the entire region, and our new partial cloverleaf interchange will prepare us for a much bigger increase in population. We survived the patch update and added over 3,000 new residents. If you enjoyed this project as much as I did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.